here is the story, and we had to be here, as I said. And the reason why we are bringing you this story is because we have been talking for a long time about constitutional amendments in Ghana. And what has happened here in Britain brings a stark reality to what we have been talking about. The first point I'd like to make, viewers, is that what has happened here is Britain is not so much because the British people are good people. It's not because Boris Johnson is a good man, and it's not because he's benevolent. It is because they have a political system that allows that to happen. Now, what is that political system? It's a political system that is called the parliamentary political system. Now, behind me is the British Parliament, the Westminster Parliament. It was created in 1853, and so it's about 170 years old here. Now, this house behind me here holds the two chambers of Parliament. To the left-hand side is the House of Lords, who sits in red pews, red chairs, and to the other side, the right, is the House of Commons that sits in on green chairs. Before the Oliver Cromwell coup d'etat, and indeed Oliver Cromwell's statue is placed here at Westminster at the other side of Parliament. Before the Oliver Cromwell coup d'etat, in which he beheaded the king, the power of making laws and the power of ruling was with the House of Lords. And then after Oliver Cromwell, the power came to the House of Commons. So the British Prime Minister is a member of the House of Commons. Now, this was the parliamentary system that the British bequeathed to us in Ghana. How does it work? It works in this way. It does not have a written constitution, and it has a bicephalous executive. It has a queen, who is the state's authority, but who is doing the substance of the executive. You can call it the ceremonial or the titular head. Queen Elizabeth, or any king or queen for that matter, is a titular head, and that's the ceremonial issues. The real executive power is with the Prime Minister. But who is the Prime Minister? The Prime Minister is a member of Parliament, and the Prime Minister is indirectly elected by the people. Why do we say he's indirectly elected? The British people go to the polls when it's election time to elect about 500 or 600 members of Parliament. There are two main political parties that contest in Britain: the Conservative Party, which is the Tory party, the right-wing party, and the Labour Party, which is the left-wing party. There are other parties, the Liberal Democrats, etc., but these are the two main parties. So, at the end of the parliamentary election, the party with the majority in Parliament, the leader of the party with the majority in Parliament is invited by the Queen, actually appointed by the Queen, to become the Prime Minister. And then he governs for a certain period. Now, this way it's instructive. When the Prime Minister comes into office, he does not have a fixed tenure, and he does not have an expiry date. So when he comes into office in 2000, the year 2000 for instance, whereas in Ghana we have election day every 7 December, 4 years, every 4 years, 7 December is election day in Ghana. Britain doesn't have that. The parliamentary system doesn't have that. So when he comes into office, he governs and he rules and he holds executive power. And he does it until such time that something like what happened today happens. And then he may have to resign. So he can resign after 1 year. He can resign after 2 years. He can be forced out after 6 months. And if nothing happens until 5 years, then there is a general election. Even the general election is not fixed. It's a decision by Parliament to close down Parliament for 1 month, and then they go back to the people and then they vote. Sometimes issues that they are deciding in Parliament can become an election issue. So when Parliament is divided over something, so for instance in Ghana, Parliament was divided about IMF, Parliament was divided about e-levy for instance, and so if Ghana was operating the British system, the fact that Parliament was divided about e-levy would have occasioned a general election. And the people who support e-levy will go to the election and campaign for e-levy, for the people to vote for them. You vote for them means you voted for e-levy. The people who are against e-levy will go to the people and campaign against e-levy. You vote for them means that you voted against e-levy. That's how it would have been. And the Prime Minister, if you like, it's Akufo-Addo, and the opposition leader John Mahama would have hit the road to campaign when the results of the election are declared. And Ghanaians, for instance, vote in favor of the e-levy, the opposition leader resigns if he wants to. But if the Prime Minister loses a vote, then he resigns. That's what happened to David Cameron. The issue about Brexit was dividing the British Parliament. And so, according to their tradition, they took the matter to the vote, to the election. And the people of Britain voted to leave Britain, to leave the European Union. They voted for Brexit. David Cameron, the Prime Minister, who had championed a Remain vote, was defeated, and so it occasioned his resignation. There was no election. He just left. Or if the people are under economic pressure, they are hard pressed for something, a vote is triggered in parliament, and then it comes to a national election. So that system, we believe, creates a lot more accountability for the people, a lot more accountability for the government, and it helps the people than the presidential system that we have, that Americans have. So let me go back to Ghana, viewers. Now, in Ghana, when we used to operate this system, so you will see, in 1951, we had an election. The CPP won the majority of seats in parliament, and so the leader of the CPP, which was Dr. Nkrumah, formed the government. That's why we say Nkrumah never won any presidential election. He won parliamentary elections, but his party won the majority of seats in parliament, and therefore he became the leader. So there was election in 1951. Then there was another election in 1954. That was planned, that was standardized. So 51, 54, there was election. There was no election intended in 1956, no. But there was election in 56 because the issue about whether Ghana will become a unitary state or whether Ghana will become a federal state was divided in parliament. And that issue had to go to the election. So Dr. Nkrumah, who was the leader of the CPP with a majority in parliament and therefore prime minister, and Kofi Abrefa-Buzia, who was the leader of the opposition, went to the people to campaign. Abrefa-Buzia and his team campaigned that Ghana become a federal state. Dr. Nkrumah and his people campaigned that Ghana become a unitary state. The people of Ghana in the 1956 election voted for the CPP. That means each person went to their constituency and voted for the CPP candidate. So at the end of the election, the CPP had won majority of seats. Dr. Nkrumah remained prime minister and independence was achieved in 1957. That's the system that we had until 1960, when Dr. Nkrumah said he doesn't like that system, he prefers the American system, so he truncated parliamentary politics in Ghana. We are making the point today, given what has happened in Britain today, it is time for us to revisit that system and see whether it gives us the accountability that we have been looking for, whether it gives us the accountability that we have been crying for, whether it helps our politicians to be well prepared before they get into parliament. Because if you are in parliament as an opposition leader, as John Mahama as he is now, or you are in parliament as prime minister, as Akufo-Addo as he is now, you are in parliament every day and you have to account to the parliament for the things you do on a daily basis. That does not have its demerits. It does have its demerits. What are the demerits? The demerits are that the government may not be able to focus because you can have elections every 4 months in that kind of system. The government may not be able to focus, and the American one allows you to focus. You know you have a 4-year term and you can focus. But given our current circumstances, where we are now arriving at democracy, where we are talking about accountability of our government, it is important that we select a political system that is accountable. So what has happened in Britain today is that there has been pressure on the Prime Minister, given his own optics, given his violation of COVID rules, given the economic situation, that members of his party have felt that Boris Johnson is not the one to take the Conservative Party to the next election. They are worried that Boris Johnson may lead the Conservative Party to defeat. For that reason, they triggered a vote and removed him as the leader of the Conservative Party, to which he has accepted and has resigned at lunchtime. However, Boris Johnson has not yet resigned as the Prime Minister, and that's the bone of contention. Tonight is going to be big here. You can see the media on my left-hand side. They are all here waiting for the members of Parliament who will be arriving in another 2 hours or so to get into the chamber and have a big, strong debate about what is happening in Britain today. On my right-hand side is the police, and they are also ready to keep the peace. So it's going to be fireworks in Westminster's Parliament any moment from the next 2 hours or so. We will be here to cover it and to bring it to you if there are any events. Madam, you can pass. Thank you very much. Sorry, people are crossing and they have to cross. They're going their way. Oh, no, sorry, you can go. You can go. Thank you very much. We are broadcasting and you can go. You can go. Okay, a lot of tourists here, as you find in some of the interviews. So what did Boris Johnson do? Boris Johnson said that he has resigned as Prime Minister. That's what he said. He has resigned as leader of the Conservative Party. But he has not resigned as Prime Minister. Now, that process means that the Conservative Party would have to select a new leader. Until then, Boris Johnson is still Prime Minister. And the calendar suggests that Boris Johnson will continue to be Prime Minister until October sometime, because it's a long process. So the process is that any member of the Conservative Party who wants to become a Prime Minister will have to have the support of 8 members of the party in Parliament. Those 8 members can put his name up. The Conservative Party will go through a process to reduce whatever number they get to single 2. Once they get the 2, all members of the Conservative Party in the United Kingdom and elsewhere are going to send in mail votes to vote for one of the 2 as the leader of the party. That process can take weeks, it can take months. For all that period, Boris Johnson is still Prime Minister. The people who are suspicious about Boris Johnson are saying this afternoon that they suspect that Boris Johnson is going to manipulate that process and ensure that the Conservative Party is not able to get a leader by October. If they don't find a leader, Boris Johnson remains as Prime Minister. But what is Boris Johnson trying to say, really? What he's trying to say to the British people and to the Conservative Party is that the majority of British people elected his party because of him as leader. Those British people have not said he should leave Prime Ministerial position. It's a few members in the Conservative Party that say he should leave. So he will leave the party, but he will remain Prime Minister, and Prime Minister is usually appointed by the Queen. So he has not sent his resignation to Buckingham Palace. No, he hasn't. He has only announced a resignation as the leader of the Conservative Party. Let's see how this plays out. But for us in Ghana and for us constitutional law students, the important thing is that we are looking at this system tonight and we are congratulating Britain. But we have to be careful about that. We cannot congratulate Britain because they are doing something good because they are good people. They are not doing it because they are good people. They are doing it because they have chosen a system that allows that to happen. They have chosen a system that gives this opportunity for ventilation. It gives this opportunity for interrogating the system. That's the system they have. The system we have chosen, like the American system, keeps a president at the castle or the Jubilee House for the next 4 years. Nothing will happen until the next 4 years. He has another term, and then he runs 2 terms, and he's gone away. That's the system we have. It has a lot of merits, but the major demerit for Africa and for Ghana about that system is that accountability is put on the back burner. And that's why we are urging Ghanaians tonight, as we look at the British system and we congratulate them for what they are doing, we should remember that they are not doing that because they are good people. They are doing that because they have a political system that allows them to do that. Okay, so there's another aspect of the story in which Ghanaians will be particularly interested. So Boris Johnson has left as leader of the Conservative Party, isn't it? Now, the Conservative Party will have to choose a new leader, okay? And in the leadership race, okay, so how does it work? They're going to have one person, anyone who wants to be leader would have to have 8 people nominating him, and they will scale it down until 2 people, and then the Conservative members across the United Kingdom will vote by mail and determine who becomes the next leader. In that race is a Kwesi Kwarteng. Kwesi Kwarteng has been a member of Parliament since 2010, and he was last year appointed by Boris Johnson as the Minister for Business, Energy and Industry. That's an interesting mix, isn't it? If you compare to what we have in Ghana, his business, energy and industry, they sort of put energy and industry together, isn't it? That's quite interesting. So Kwesi Kwarteng is the minister for that. Kwesi Kwarteng has a super global education. He attended Eton College and he attended Oxford University. He attended Cambridge University and he also attended Harvard University. Okay, so Kwesi Kwarteng is in the race. Could he be the next British Prime Minister? Well, I don't know, but we are looking at it and looking at what can happen. Is Britain ready for a Barack Obama type leader? I asked that question to one of my interviews, and that interview is coming up and you can see it. So I have 3 interviews coming up on this part of the London Files, and you can enjoy all of them. I had actually 4 interviews, 1 with American, 2 with British people, and 1 with the Ugandan. All of that is coming up. But pray for Kwesi Kwarteng. Even if he doesn't become the leader of the Conservative Party, he would have stuck his claim to leadership of the party. He'll get a very senior cabinet position in the next Conservative government, and is taking the name of Ghana high. But as I listened to the Kwesi Kwarteng story, as they were telling me here in Parliament, I spoke to the media, and they were telling me, they asked me, where are you coming from? I said, I'm from Ghana. And they said, oh yeah, that's Kwesi Kwarteng people. Okay, so I just thought about it, you know. Footballers are doing nationality switch. So you play for England, and you can switch to play for Ghana, isn't it? Why don't we have politicians doing nationality switch? So you sit in Westminster Parliament for a while, you come and sit in Ghanaian Parliament. Like Barack Obama returns to Kenya and joins the Kenyan government. Like Kwesi Kwarteng comes to Ghana. Like Adom-Otchere comes to Ghana. Paul Boateng comes to Ghana and sits in the Ghanaian parliament. Let's think about that. Okay, but let's move straight on to the interviews. My first interview was with this guy who has a placard. He's against Boris Johnson. Listen to him, and the other interviews continue.